Boomer's Brew. Well, I guess if you
Boomer
boom
brew.
enough, you can brew anything. You can buy. Oh, sorry. Comes as Boomer's Brew may result in temporary partying. Please drink responsibly. I like that. That's cool.
Hmm.
So the QR code on there is actually a Discord link.
Hello, welcome to
Fucking
Metaverse
lagging.
Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and our guest is.
Dangleberry.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, Dangleberry. Thank you for joining us today.
It's great to have
No
you.
problem.
I'm just going to call him Barry for short because short. If I think of Dingleberry, I'm thinking of something that hangs on the dog. My problem.
Not very
No
few people
problem.
call me Barry. It's mostly just Dangle for short.
I'm just going to call you Barry. Sounds easier to me.
Okay,
I always
sounds
call
good.
everybody's last name for some stupid reason.
I'm so very sorry, but the first thing that popped in my brain is Bo Dangles.
Oh God.
Oh no. A while back, I changed my Discord name to Dan Gleberry. So that's Dan first name, Gleberry is the last name.
Ah.
Ah, makes sense.
So what is it you do here in VR?
I do a lot of things, mostly on the creative side. I started with avatar making, and then I got into world making. I guess you can say a year ago, and then I do a lot of moderation at Ancients of Vrchat Discord server.
Hmm.
So I do a lot of that. I used to do a lot of event coordination there as well, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'm.
Oh.
Pretty busy guy.
So how'd you get involved with all of that and VR in general?
It was January 2021. My wife bought me a Oculus Quest 2, and I've heard about. I've known about VRChat for years. You know, when it got a little bit big on Twitch and years ago, when Uganda Knuckles and that kind of stuff
Hmm.
started popping up. And I didn't play VRChat right away. I mainly jumped into like just the regular VR games like Beat Saber, and a few other ones. I started playing VRChat once I figured out that I can hook up my Quest to my computer,
Hmm.
and I almost immediately started making an avatar because I had, like a lot of people, I had trouble finding one that kind of fits me. So I
Hmm.
figured, oh, I could make one. So that's kind of how that started.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
So,
what is Ancients of VR Chat and how'd you get involved with them?
well, my first way of getting into VRChat communities was the subreddit, and it was right around March. The founder was posting info about how to get in touch with other adults on the server. People are 18 plus, and they had joined another server that was like that. The problem with that one was a more European based. So this person, they split off, started North American one, and then I joined that one about 2 or 3 days after it started.
Hmm.
And then I kind of just lurked in there for like 4 or 5 months because I already had a fairly busy friend group at the time, my first one. And then when that kind of fizzled out a few months later, I started jumping into the ancient VRChat and kind of helping out there. So joining their events. Some of the first events I kind of posted were Discord events, was teaching people how to make avatars. That was kind of my first deal. And then a few months later, after I got kind of too busy for that, because it pretty much, when I was doing those, it was like the only thing I could do. It took me like a week to prep, and then I do 1 or 2 lessons a week. And then I started hosting newbie events, which is what events we do for people who are new to the server, kind of get them to introduce themselves. among other newbies and go through world hopping, games, whatever whatever we decide. Every week it's different.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's kind of how I got involved in that.
Ah. So Ancients of Vrchat's a place for adults of Vrchat. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yes, 18 plus. We're 18 plus safe at work server, so we're not your typical, horny 20 somethings in VRChat that like
Mm.
DRP. We keep it safe for work. We do have a couple of mature channels, but they're mostly just memes and discussion. So
Okay.
it's mainly just kind of people who don't want to deal with that part of VRChat. And we're about like how many members we have now? 9,400 Discord members.
Hmm.
So probably about 2.5 years old. So we run about, I would say about 30 to 40 events a week.
Wow.
So we're very busy.
Damn.
Yeah, I know it took a lot.
Holy
It took
shit.
a long time for us to get up there, but we've been at that
Jesus
level
Christ,
for
I'd be
like
happy with just fucking one, but fucking, holy shit, I'd be going, I'm lost, where am I going, Mom? Mom, you know what Mom's gonna say? Get off, get there, get your ass going, got all fucking day, what the hell?
Yeah.
How that shit goes, right, Pete? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, Barry. Keep going.
no problem, no problem. Well, it took us a long time to get there because it was like when I first joined, those kind of events are few and far between. There's a couple, small little things here and there. And as I picked up, we used to do maybe 1 or 2 a week.
Hmm.
And then as we bring more people onto the team of helpers, we used to call them Sherpas back then, but we kind of changed things around. So they're guides and event coordinators. So we have a team of about, I don't know the exact number, but probably about 50,
Wow.
40 and 50 that run events, help new people on the server, help with other events. So some people host 1 event a month, some people host 3 or 4 events a week, and then some of the events even take up to half a dozen helpers to run. Like our most popular event, which is Saturday game night. Right about now, it goes up and down, but right about now, we hit the 80 limit cap all throughout the whole night. So,
Oh wow.
and that one, so what we do is everybody gets in Hub World. All the helpers pick a game that they want to play, and then people split off to those games. So it's kind of the Hub World gets filled up pretty quick.
Hmm.
So and that one takes about half. I see at least half a dozen helpers in our Discord call every single week helping with that.
Oh wow. So, what kinds of events do you run if you got 30 of them? Because that's insane.
So some of them are they're yeah, I know it is. It's pretty insane. It's hard to keep track of them. I used to actually back before I got kind of burnt out last year. I used to go through every single. We have an event ticket system, and I used to go through every single one, keep everything, make sure everything was kind of in keeping everything in line and everything kind of in order. We'd some of them go from as something as simple as just a hangout, or just hang out for 2 hours, pretty much like that. Some of them are themed, like lately we've been doing galas, which is kind of more of a they announce the theme, give people time to have costumes and stuff like that, change their avatars up, encourage a bit of customization. We do world hopping, fitness events, like there's a few fitness events a week. Lots of world hopping games. One type of game that's been up and coming is Mahjong. So that happens once a week. Chess. There's a group that they do weekly events to flying worlds with like fighter planes and stuff. What else we gotta do? I don't know. We even have some every now and then we have a Discord event for avatar creation. Whoever wants to volunteer will they'll do a bit of a lesson on a specific topic of avatar creation. Yeah, that's I'm sure there's
Oh,
more,
wow.
but
Oh, no.
There's a lot to list.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot to list, and that's a very amazing. You guys do events for new people to VR and new people to your group and all of that. It's a very nice thing that you guys do that.
yeah, it's been that one's been a staple since we started doing regular events where we when someone joins the server where they get a rule called I'm a newbie, and then when we do that, when we post that event, it pings them. So everybody who comes in at least gets pinged once, hopefully, if they don't talk too much in the Discord server. Because when you talk, you get experience points, and a certain amount of experience points kicks you out of the newbie channel because you're no longer a newbie. So I did quite a bit of those when I first started doing events. Now we do, back then was doing 1 a week. Now we do 3 a week. So
Okay.
we even have one people doing in the early afternoon for people who are good for that, European or kind of people who have weird work schedules. So typically it's always, we say, you can come as many times as you want to the newbie event, but if you feel like you're not a newbie and you've kind of integrated yourself with the server, we recommend you not attend. Like, move to other events and leave space for other newbies to come and find friends, figure out their way around the server, and get their own kind of group circle going in their friend circle kind of thing.
Okay. That's actually a really nice thing that you guys do. Help people kind of integrate into VR. There's not a lot of groups that do that, although I have seen a few groups in VR run a lot of private or public spaces in worlds, like public black cats run by a moderated group of sorts, which is also nice to see in VR chat.
Yes. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
It's all good.
Must have been the beer over in the corner over there. I must have drank too much of it.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It was River for sure.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, so it pops up so much on. I actually saw it the other couple weeks ago. There's actually we achieved meme status in the Vrchat Discord Vrchat subreddit. Someone posted a meme. It was that one that is it Billy Mays? He's doing the there's a tank of water and the water's pouring out, and I think it's the tape or something that he's doing. Anyways, water's pouring out, and then what it is it's the caption is how do I find adults in VR chat? And then the next frame he's slapping some tape on, and the tape says join the entrance.
Pretty good way, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So occasionally we can occasionally make posts on there, but whenever someone posts on there and says, "Oh, I'm say over 18, whatever their age, say 26. How do I find adults?" Because people go to the Black Cat because it's on the top of the pop list, and they find kids. So
Questies, squeakers, screechers.
Pretty much.
So what's the rough age range then of the people who are in there?
I would say that's hard to tell because we don't really keep track of those kind of things, but I would say probably upper 20s, I would say. And the next one would be lower 20s. And then there's and then as you get older it gets less. Like, I'm 35. I'm one of the older ones. Not that much older, but we have had some people come in that are we had a couple of people come in that are 70, 50s, 40s, kind of all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'd fit perfectly, Raptor. You're ancient.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Feels the fucking pavement, but nobody drives on it as much as most people. That didn't make any sense, but hey, what the fuck, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So, Raptor, what was Jesus like?
I don't know, but he still owes me $20. SOB still owes me $20. I'll never see it. Oh well, it's only 20.
Well, wouldn't you mean like
Better than 100.
wouldn't you mean like 20 gold coins at the time it was the Roman Empire?
Yeah. Whoa. Now, if you just look at $20 in gold back then to where it is now, I'd be a rich man. I'd have full body and I'd be doing the boogaloo, dancing around, going, yay! Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
I still think we
Yeah.
should be getting you a full body.
Definitely.
Help me.
Seeing this jet in full body, you should see him as he's having fun running around and just dancing on his lonesome. He'd be like in a plant pot, just moving about, and no one knows he's there. And you just kind of look over and he's singing to his music, grooving away inside the plant pot, kind of like Groot, except a little free.
We'll probably just be sitting down the whole time.
Hey, thanks,
I can tell
Barry. I'm sitting down
well,
now.
I can tell you're sitting because you got your hands like that, right?
My hands just up.
I know that pose.
You want me to go pole dance over there on the light pole?
You should start singing or do the whole bit. I'm singing or I'm dancing in the rain.
And singing in the rain.
I'm singing in the rain.
Singing in the rain. Da, 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 da. Oh, hi, folks.
So, how long did it take you to learn the Unity side of things in Vrchat, and what was your experiences like learning it?
Oh, I'm still learning. You never stop early. But I would say I'm better on the Blender side of things than Unity. Although just because I'm fairly proficient on the Unity side for avatars. But for worlds, it's just like it's been this year. It's been definitely a struggle. I've started a few worlds, never finished them, just because I feel like I get myself in over my head when I try to jump in there and try to do it. Like it's kind of hard to figure out exactly the right path and the right kind of like organization, how to do things. Like I'll do something one way, and then just because of how I think it should go, and then I get a little bit further, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done like that. So I kind of scrap it, and then just kind of learn. And it's been this world I did last year, but it's kind of it doesn't do a lot of the features, have the same features that a normal world would. Because this one is all, there's no light map in this world. It's all baked Blender textures. Like I did the scene in Blender and I baked the textures. So this floor is not a repeatable pattern. It's just one big 4K texture. Same with that wall.
Oh,
it's just,
it looks really good though.
Yeah, it's just one big 4K texture. Yeah, that's what's good about doing something like that in Blender. But the problem, it's a 4K texture. It could just be easily just be repeatable with the light map. But at the time, I didn't know that kind of stuff, and I knew how to use Blender, so that's kind of used at my disposal. And it's a small world. It's just like you can see that there's void all around. So I didn't have to worry about size limitations because if you try to do that for a bigger world, you'll just start your file size just goes crazy. But I threw this in here. It added only 20 megabytes to the world, so
that's not too bad.
That's nothing.
Yeah, that's not too bad at all.
Yep.
And I even had a bit of the chance to see your effects with the songs you have over here, and it looks really, really good. Especially which one was it? The Dead Mouse one, where the road that breaks apart into little airplanes.
Yes. Yeah, that one took a long time to get correct, and some of them took quite a long time. And I tried to do something new with every single one of them. That was my last one that I finished, and I wanted to do a longer song, and so I hadn't heard that song before I like probably only like a couple weeks before I decided to do it. And
so,
but it's it's
what entails in with the effects you have in with the music, like the things that happen with the music. What did it take, and what kinds of things are in there?
Well, they're all done with particle systems. So a couple of them use some meshes, like the Kazoo one, the System of Down use some meshes in it, and just changing colors of that. But most of them are all just particle systems, and it's all hand time. So I go in there, I have an animation file, and I have a little waveform
Mm,
that I look at, and I don't look at it too much because it's not very accurate.
yeah.
But when I hit play, it automatically plays a song, and then I can time the effect.
Mm,
So when I pick a song, most of these I'm just in between songs, I'm just creating effects. And
mm,
then when I find a song that I can kind of visualize in my head, I'll use that as kind of the main theme of what um I'm gonna do for that song.
mm,
And then I kind of shoehorn other effects in there that I've created in between doing the animations.
mm.
So each one of them is hand time, so it does take quite a bit time to do it. Like the Kazoo one took 2 weeks.
Oh.
The cloud one took 1 day.
Oh.
So it's
So
yeah.
what do you mean by hand timed? Just for
Okay,
me and those
so
who don't know.
when you make an animation, you have all your list of parameters that you're going to change,
Mhm.
and then you have your timeline, which has all the diamonds on it, well, called keyframes. And so I go in there and I say, oh, I want to have it brighten up the time of say the drum or something or some sort of beat in the song. I'll go in there and I'll time it for my whatever the default light level is, and then a few frames later I'll have it go brighter. A few frames later I'll have it go darker again. And so I listen to it, and I can see the bar go across the timeline, and I kind of put it there. I listen to it again, and listen to it, see if it's timed correctly, and if it is, I'll add one more in there for the next one. And when I get a few, I start copying and pasting.
Mm.
And then eventually I figured out watching another streamer do it that I can just hit control C and then listen to it, and then I can hold control and then press V whenever that happens. So I can press it at the beat. So that dropped a lot of time to it.
Mm.
But
See-
it's like it's nothing is adaptable. So it can be just
Mm.
it's all 100% personal to that song. Like it can't.
Ah, okay, I understand. So making the animation literally by hand for the entire song.
Yes, by hand, literally
Mm.
putting the keyframes in each single spot they want and changing the effects, turning them on and off manually, and then um, playing it through and make sure it looks right and changing the scale and all that kind
Mm.
of stuff.
Okay. I have another question. For people who don't know, what is a particle system?
Oh, so a particle system, it's a particles can be kind of whatever you want. They can be meshes, but typically they are quads. So it's basically a spawning system, I would say.
Mm.
Is it'll spawn it's got a point. You can choose the size of the spawn location, all that stuff, and what'll happen is it will spawn whatever you want. So the default one is like it's a sphere, but it's
Okay.
a quad. And so also um the trademark of particle systems is the billboard effect to
Mm.
make it look kind of 3D, where the quad that you're looking at will always face the camera. So the camera in this instance will be the person in VR.
Mm.
So you're looking at something, it looks like a sphere, but it's actually just a square, and it's got some uh, opacity around it, so it looks like a circle.
Okay.
So, and then you can choose different timings. You can make it go larger over time, change color over time. You can have it move in different directions, whatever you want to do. There's so many effects you can do with particles. it's pretty nuts. I spent 6 months doing this world, and I'm still finding new ways to do things, and
Mm.
um, and I go to other worlds that have particle systems and that do this kind of stuff, and I look at these things, and I kind of know how they do it, but I'm like, oh, I never thought about doing it that way.
Mm.
And there's always different ways of interpreting and how to use that system.
Yeah. That is one
Yeah.
of the added benefits to VRChat, though, is so many people doing so many things with Unity and Blender. You could always learn something new just by world hopping a lot of the time or talking with people. Just the sheer amount of people doing
Yeah,
stuff.
everybody. I mean, it's a lot of people are self-taught, and it's
Mm.
just a lot of the things are done with just fiddling. That's what I do. I just change a little bit here, the change a little bit there. You fiddle with it, and it comes out something different, and it's always different every single time,
Mm.
depending on the person. Like they could change. I could choose to change this. They'll choose this, and it'll always end different, especially if it's the resources are out there, but it's a lot of it for this kind of stuff. Um like self-taught kind of thing.
Yeah.
There are people who can help you with it, but it's like
Mm. Very much so
Mhm.
a self-study. Although that is, of a lot of the people I've talked to in VRChat who've self-taught skills, I think that's one of the most amazing things about VRChat and its community is a lot of people who do stuff in here. Either it's music, avatars, worlds, coding. Everyone, super majority of people here are all self-taught in some way, shape, or form, unless they do it for a living, like they're a software engineer in real life and they got involved with shaders and stuff like that. But a lot of people here, it's like, oh, cool, I saw a world lore thing, and then they got inspired and off down the rabbit hole they go.
yeah, because I mean, VRChat's not like it's not that like I don't think it's that much different from game dev, but it's like there are limitations to it,
Mm.
and a lot of those tutorials that you see out there aren't abided by those limitations.
Mm.
Like for example, when I first started doing avatars, like many people, I started with Bunderguru and the donut tutorial, and then once I realized that like I got I don't know halfway into it, I realized, oh, this stuff doesn't mean anything for VRChat. Like some of it does, the
Mm.
learning all the keybinds and stuff, but it's like all the rendering that's done in Blender is pretty much useless when you want to make a VRChat avatar. So
Mm.
when I did that, I had to change tutorials.
Mm. It's probably one of the many reasons why VRChat, at least aesthetically as well as how it functions, is better than most VR platforms that's like outside, like a corporate or of a different environment. Like here, you got people working on so many things, what self-taught or not self-taught, and the community I've noticed shares a lot of stuff amongst each other. So if someone comes out with a new world or a new asset of sorts, within I'd say a couple weeks of it being released, just everywhere, to including like new tech stuff. There's some really cool haptic suit or face tracking something. Short while after, someone's got an
Yeah,
asset for it out there.
yeah. I mean, it's the amount of creativity and the amount of things that people are doing out there is nuts. It's VRChat limits you to certain things, but they also give you quite a bit of freedom. So, and then it's also funny to see people do so much within those limitations.
Mm.
Like when in game dev you can do scripting and stuff, with avatars you can't do any of that kind of stuff. So people have to find workarounds to do what they want, and those are the things. Those are the things that are really interesting. Like,
Mm.
people find those small little things that I mean the VRChat devs, they're pretty creative, but I'm sure they didn't think that of half the things that people come up with within their system. They didn't ever expected that kind of thing to come out.
Mm. Well, it's when you allow a group of people to work with something, generally it's going to come to a point or it's going to blow by what you expected it to happen. Like look at most communities, even down to like the Habbo Hotel days back before we had this much control in a social platform. Even a
Hmm.
lot of things they're doing there is beyond what they expected to happen. Clubs, music,
Hmm.
stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
know there was a. Yeah, I was part of that too. I dabbled in a little Hubble when I was younger, but I mean, for example, this I did using Vrchat. Devs expected people to start making particle animations, music. I mean, it's something that could be done, but did they expect it? Like, I don't know. It's interesting to see the creativity of people.
It is really interesting to see some of the things. One of my favorite activities from when I started VR is world hopping. When I first spawned in, I was like a kid in a candy store. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, look at that. And it's still my favorite activity. Whenever I hop into VR, like I usually dedicate like 30 minutes to an hour of just hopping and what's new. It may be the same world a couple of different times with a different name, but I still like to see some of the new stuff out. It's cool to see what people are working on in one way, shape, or the other.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, the scenic world are like some of those are like the quality of them and just going through it and just looking at like and then you're seeing this all in VR, like it's completely different than seeing out just your desktop. So it's a it's a nice it's very immersive, right? It's um it's definitely world hopping is like there's always something new too, right? There's so many people working on things you'll never have enough time to see everything that's out there. So there's
No.
always something new, always something always the latest and greatest thing, right? It's like, oh, I've never seen this before. They like sometimes even stuff if there's so much stuff, you'll come back to it in like a year and be like, oh, I get to experience it all over again because you completely forgot about it because you've seen so many different worlds.
You know, I've always wondered what the first few people in VR chat think about what things are going on now. You know, like the past, like not the staff, but the first few people to join in, like at random, like off the street, one would say, and they stuck around. If they're still involved in the community, and if not, if they are or not, what do they think of how things look now? Like that, like from how
Oh,
things changed
yeah.
from the beginning to now. Like I've only seen bits and videos of how it was back then, but even in now, it's like insane from when I like, even from my time here, it's gotten so much more, like, so much better, looks better, and a lot more immersive too.
Oh yeah, I mean, stuff like full body tracking and like I don't know how soon that happened because I was I wasn't a VR chat from the beginning, but those people are like who joined the beginning or those are like the early adopters are really into VR and they're probably imagine a lot of them are still around because you know they saw VR and they wanted to jump right into it. I know a couple of people who have been around for way longer than I have, and it's nice to see the evolution and just the. I feel like VR chat's getting more refined over the years. Like a lot of the different types. There's more things you can do in VR chat. Like the devs are adding a lot of things that kind of help with that, like VRSL, which is the stage lighting and stuff, and music and um, different kind of dance events and stuff like that. So many communities out there doing stuff, and they're always evolving their own niche to make it fit more into make it more cohesive and beginner friendly and all that kind of stuff. So it's
one of the things I think about once in a while, not a lot of the time, but I think platforms like VRChat and Neos is what's keeping VR currently alive. With a lot of stuff going on, the amount of stuff to do, and then if you kind of take yourself outside of like VRChat, Neos, and the VR platforms, there isn't a whole lot outside besides like what Meta has for exclusives. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot unless you're an indie developer developing stuff. But even then, there really isn't. You don't see much AAA titles. You don't see a whole lot of things people are excited for. But then here in VR chat, there's a whole bunch of crazy shit being developed regularly, especially for games. Like they're gonna even get more involved than just like Murder 4. You got like entire game systems in now with bosses and storylines.
Yes. Yeah, like I think some of the latest things about like VRChat announced they're eventually going to have a perpetual save system, but some of the things like idle home was big for a bit, and
Mm,
that one has a save system where it just kind of sees something you copy and paste onto a
yeah.
notepad and you bring it back. Stuff like that is like that's kind of new-ish, and then
Mm,
um, but yeah, I totally agree with you about the VRChat is kind of keeping it alive. It's kind of because I feel like VR has hype, but problem is it's not a replacement. It's not a replacement for what we have right now. Like nobody's gonna jump off the desktop and go fully VR because it's not intuitive, right? The
mm,
controls are you only got like 4 buttons on each controller.
mm.
And then it's like, how do you type? And I've been in the VR chat for 2 years and I haven't even got a hang of typing. It's just terrible. I'm just terrible with it. I'm sitting there, my hands are shaky, and I'm just like typing one thing at a time. And I just every time I see that login window in VR chat, if I go into Quest, I just absolutely dread it because it takes me forever to type it in, and I'm always typing it wrong, and it's just terrible.
I've kind of mastered the aspect of VR boomer typing. I'm like just like whirlwinding away, sending messages. A lot of the time, it kind of looks like I'm doing the old school glow stick rave dancing, but I'm just typing away in Discord or something.
Yeah.
Although one of the things I kind of see happening is you see a lot more like VR gloves becoming a thing, like haptic gloves, and I think at
Hmm.
some point in time, typing will be like actually typing, but you'll be up here in a 3D virtual space, and it would make sense that eventually, like that, like OVR toolkit, for example, it would make sense for them to incorporate some form of touch, so that you can just like even if you have the index, you can type away. It's just beep boop bop boop
Hmm.
beep boop beep instead of the laser. Mm.
Well, once you get to that point, right, you're getting even less intuitive, right? All you have your hands, you have hand tracking. But what can you do? Pinch to zoom? I don't know. It's like it's. I think it just makes it gets even further away from the desktop and makes it even harder for people to adopt that kind of stuff. I mean,
Mm.
with Apple's latest thing, it looked fine on a screen, but it was like, oh, I'm gonna pinch the zoom. Look at this, but it's like it's just for all it is for content
Mm.
consumption, right?
Yeah.
There's no the interactability of that kind of stuff is it goes down once you start losing the ability to like type or you know lose lose the controls. And so what do you like?
Mm.
Yeah, a screen comes up, but it's like that's going to take a while to get used to. And
Well,
I don't know. I mean, yeah, people can get used to that, but it's kind of hard. It's
mm.
kind of definitely there's a learning curve to it, and anything that has a learning curve definitely has um, a hill to climb when it comes to adoption.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, right now VR has a huge hill to climb with adoption in general. Because right now, like people who hop into VR are those who want to be entertained, VR chatters, and I'm using that as a gross term for social VR platforms, but VR chat's like the big dog of that. And you can't really, this isn't a whole lot of other people who can top them. So VR chatters in the social form. And then people who are very interested in VR in general, and that's a niche. A very
Yep,
small
it
niche of
does.
people who enjoy VR now. And it's kind of hard to get people excited for it because, like, you got smartphones and desktops. So, wanting to put on a 12-pound plastic potato attached to the front of your face is kind of hard to be like, this is really fun, everybody. And not a lot of people want to have a 12-pound potato strapped to their face.
Yeah, yeah. If you remember years ago, 3D TVs were like all the rage, or you couldn't get any TV that wasn't 3D for at one point, and now you can't get a TV that's 3D anymore. So
Hmm.
it's technology will come and go. Like the laser craze thing won't stick around forever, and some of those staples will always stay. But it's hard to tell what VR is going to be like in the future. Like 10 years from now, it'll be even be a
Hmm.
thing anymore?
Hmm.
I imagine it'll stick around at some point at one level, but who knows to see what it would be like if it'll still be
Hmm.
like this, or it'll be more like corporatized thing, or I don't know.
Maybe.
It depends on what kind of hardware we'll be using then as well.
One of the things I think may spring up, and this is just me, I think overlays to reality. Instead of having like giant real life billboards, it's a virtual billboard. Instead of TVs, it's a media player. Instead of picture frames, it'll be actual pictures and stuff of that nature. Everything will be like, everything aesthetically will be virtual in some form or the other. It'll probably be like a cyberpunk-esque overlay to reality. So maybe you'd even be able to have or hack the system to be able to have like an avatar move with you over your real life body. Things like that may be where it goes, but then again, we also don't know. It could be like Full Dive or whatever. Tech is weird.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see. Yeah, definitely. AR is definitely a very interesting. But I mean, the technology is not there yet. Like you can see Apple's example, and it looked like it was. It was just a screen in the app that shows someone's eyeballs. Like when I first saw them, I'm like, oh, I can see right through it. There's a through display somehow, but it's like you look at closer and it's not. It's just a screen with someone's eyeballs. Just really
just a little bit. One of the funniest things from like the corporate VR world that I find hilarious is Meta's like just getting legs. Horizon Worlds is like just now figuring out VR legs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they're like just
I haven't
starting
been
to
keeping up with any of that kind of stuff.
Google.
Oh, really? Like not just floating avatars.
Google's kind of trained. My Google news feed is trained now for like VR, AR, gaming, and most of the stuff in like Metaverse news just like pops up in my Google feed now. It's like, okay, cool. So it's a news. Horizon Worlds has legs now. It's like, okay. Vrchat's had legs for almost closing on 10 years now. Well, 7 years.
Well, yeah. I mean, I could have seen that coming. Because there was a lot of hype about the full body tracking that they were developing. That was using their inside out tracking. That was kind of predicting how your body would. And so if it's that they would go down that route. But it's definitely not going to be. They're definitely still far away from anything that like any close to what VRChat has.
Yeah, as much dogging on Horizon Worlds as I'm mentioning, it is another mode that makes people want to come into VR, and I enjoy it here. Like, look at me, I have this weird podcast thing where I talk to people such as yourself. Like, I find it amazing. Even I may joke about Horizon Worlds, but it still brings different people here. So I will give them that, and it is it's a different platform.
Oh, great.
What's up?
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me, but I think it's my internet. My network is being a bit weird.
Yeah, you are kind of laggy a little bit. That's all good. Hello, Raptor. You are back, I see.
Yeah, that's what happens when the internet
it's been
piss in the wind, and I get
it's been stutter like the past 20 minutes, and I've just been hoping that it would go away. It's just one of those issues that I've been having lately, where it's been a bit stuttery, and I don't know exactly what the issue is. Some people say that it's when you start moving around, your head starts the wireless isn't so good. And because I'm using a Quest 2 with virtual desktop, so
that's what I'm using.
But I have that little infograph in front of me, and it's definitely you can see my network ping go up and down.
It lags a little bit, and you just going, God damn it, don't do it. And it already did it once. I had to restart the whole fucking thing all over again. Piece of shit. I don't know if it's my internet.
I'd like to go, so I had to.
Well,
I don't feel lonely no more, Lion.
No.
Barry feels the same thing I do. He gets slapped in the ass and told where to go, and then you come back going, ouch.
Well,
yeah. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. It's just although I should probably really bring my hotspot closer to my Quest. It's 2 floors up. which is
A hotspot. So that's how you're running your Wi-Fi. It's a really big hotspot.
yeah, I have Ubiquiti Net HD or something. I can't remember what the name is. I bought it a couple years ago, and it's behind a dresser in my bedroom, which is 2 floors up. it's been great up until this year. I don't know if it's a Quest thing or a hotspot thing or not, but I don't know.
Well, to be fair, you're sending your Wi-Fi
It's
through
been
multiple
great.
floors, so that could also be it. They could
Yeah,
get
you know,
the signal changed.
I was surprised how well it's been. Like, I thought 2 floors up, but no way. And then I have the ISP router that's literally just one remote over, and it's worse.
Well, that is also one of the
So
limitations of VR is how immersive it can be based upon your internet signal.
That's no
like
shit.
for example, like I don't normally notice like this. I'm sitting at 150 megabits per second. I don't normally notice the quality is like it. I'm supposed to be hardwired, but when I go into power reclamation worlds like this one, not necessarily mine own, but other ones, seeing the artifacting and that when it gets the screen gets really busy when there's colors are changing and you start noticing that.
That is one of the
I've never noticed the
downsides.
difference.
That is one of the downsides, though, to VRChat is not everyone knows optimization the same way as everybody else. So what one person is hyper optimized, another person's like, good enough. So it's kind of not uniform.
Yeah, my snootiness towards bad optimization has kind of gone up and down over years. I normally like pretty against like kit bash avatars, and I mean I do my own stuff, so I don't have to worry about. Well, I start from the beginning, so I always do from scratch. So it's easier for me to do the proper optimizations because I can do it straight from the beginning. But people who only know how to kit bash, they don't have that kind of option, right? They see an asset and they say, "Oh, look, that one's 10k polys. This one's 10 polys." And then before you know it, you're like 200k polys, and it's. I mean, I blame kit bashers too much. I mean, their avatars look really good for sure, but I just wish it wasn't the assets that they were grabbing weren't so bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see some of them doing from scratch, and then it's still way to be, but it takes a lot of time and effort and learning to be able to make something look good and optimized. Like, I mean, I took a commission this year, my first ever commission, for a bunch of outfits for an avatar. It's kind of and the original assets I created, some of them weren't the most optimized, but I did a good enough job, I think. And then not as easy as it looks, definitely, especially if you want to make something look realistic. You know, you're gonna have definitely it's takes a lot of time and a lot of patience to get good at it.
Yeah. Well, since VRChat pretty much has a homegrown attitude towards building of world's assets and games, the optimization isn't always going to be the best thing because you got a billion people making various different things, and not everyone communicates and knows what optimization is. And some people forego optimization for looks, like some of those worlds made from like in Japan or Asia, where aesthetically it looks gorgeous and realistic, but you're at like 2 frames and your ping is atrocious while you're there.
Yeah, I didn't catch the last part, but I got most of it. Yeah, I messed up right up to the Japanese world or whatever So that was about when I
Ah,
cut out again.
oh, it's all good. Some of those Japanese worlds, they look like they foregone optimization entirely for aesthetics. So you'll go in there like 2 frames, terrible ping, but everything looks amazing. But as soon as you look away from their world,
Oh,
you get frames back, but it looks great.
oh yeah. I mean, especially the big open worlds for sure. People don't. That's another thing. People don't like. There's an ass out. It looked great, but then it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to view that asset at full detail when it's so far away from you that you couldn't even see that detail, right? It's supposed to. You're supposed to have when you get further away, the mesh is supposed to decimate and not automatically. I mean, Unreal has that stuff automatically, but you're supposed to have different level detail. And so as you get further away from it, it starts rendering less polys, and so you don't have to. It doesn't. It's not a big deal.
Mm.
So if something far away, yeah, you can see that in a lot of games that have a lot of distance, like Call of Duty, where it's open world. As soon as you zoom in, like if you're sniping someone, you zoom in, you can see for the first second or two, all the buildings look like crap. The textures are really low res and they're squares, and then it pops in a bit later. You'll see the more detailed ones. That's kind of how those games like that get away with it.
Oh yeah.
That don't see that happen very often in Vrchat because it's a lot more work involved to make an asset and then put that asset into say 3 or 4 different other levels of detail.
Yeah.
Like you make that one asset, you look at the smaller details because you're building in Blender, and then you don't really want to like, decimate it and make it look okay from 50 meters away or something.
Well,
it's a lot of work involved.
Yeah, though there is one system. A friend of ours, Badger's playing around with it right now for his world. He runs the Rave Cave, and he's messing around with an asset where from your camera and your headset, the player will only see a bit of the world with the camera's pointed. If you're not looking at it and within a certain distance, it won't load anything. It'll be like an empty void entirely. Like it'll cut out what's not being seen. And he there's a certain part of the world. Yeah, you could do that in those large worlds where you only render what the player's looking at, which they do have assets for, apparently for stuff like that, where you can just toss in and off it goes.
Well, that's just occlusion culling, which is basically if it's not you, it doesn't get rendered. But then you got to build a world for to be that. You can't just have one big mesh. You have to have lots of separate meshes, but each mesh is a draw call, and so it's a balancing act. Like for example, the other world that I don't know if you went to my photo gallery world, but
I did.
That one, there are ways that have done it better for glue. I made sure that each gallery was not being seen from any other gallery. So a lot of the pictures get called out, but the rooms themselves don't really get called out that much because the way I built the mesh is that the hallway and the gallery flooring and walling is one mesh. So if you hallway, you're rendering the hallway, but because it's one mesh, it's a package deal. So I can go back and fix it. It's not too bad, but it's just something that I was working on last night when I was trying to optimize for the Quest version. And it was I noticed and I looked down this one hallway, my frames are up, so I kind of emulated that in Unity, and I could see that I was looking from the third gallery down all the way down to the second and first, the main one. I'd be rendering the other galleries too at the same time, just because they were potentially in that zone of my viewpoint. But
indeed,
but it's kind of give and take kind of thing. It's one gallery's got we'll have 10 meshes to it, but then I'll call out most of it, but like the main areas it won't, just because it's the way it's built.
Well, yeah, as I said before, I don't think Vrchat's going to be like uniformly all optimized, Because like I didn't even know about inclusion calling till today, quite literally, and I'm sure other people don't know what that is, or that the fact that they have a bajillion polygons and particles that maybe that will make people's systems want to cry, but
Yeah, you know what? It's very hard to you can dive pretty deep in the optimization, and it is very it's definitely a what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's definitely very hard, and it's very in depth for optimization. Like, and you start when you start actually doing it, you have these ideas of what optimization should be, and then you actually go to try to implement that, and you realize it's different. Like um, like for example, this world, this particle animation world is PC only, and I knew that coming into it wasn't going to be a quest thing because I've heard so many. And there's barely any quest particle animations out there. And when I was building it, Unity has its own.
Hmm?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah, we still hear you.
Okay. Anyway, everything's for. I'll continue talking. When I built it,
Oh, he froze.
There he goes. Mm-hmm.
why does this keep
I get
happening?
that way out. It happens.
Anyways, I'm back.
Hi, back. I'm lying.
Yeah, it happens. I don't know.
I'm old man Raptor. How you doing? Oh,
I'm
that's
Dangle.
the beginning line. What the hell are you doing? That's the beginning of the thing, not at the end. What the hell are we doing?
I'm making
Sorry
a
about
pun.
that.
I
Yeah,
can't help myself. It's almost an immediate reaction. I was at work the other day, and fun fact, I work at a grocery store. My bosses dropped a few cases of blueberries. I walked in. Before I could filter anything out of my face, my first things out of my mouth to my bosses were, "Oh, you guys look buried." First things out of my mouth before I could stop myself from saying it. Puns are a second nature thing now. I cannot stop myself.
That's awesome. That's a good one, definitely.
I've never seen my bosses more disappointed at anything in my life. One of them laughed. The other kind of looked at me, wishing I didn't exist.
Yeah, that one was definitely laughing on the inside though. You have to appreciate a good pun.
Well, I think
some people just don't admit it.
I think she was the one who dropped the berries at the time, so sure she didn't appreciate my joke. Probably felt a bit pointed. Whoops.
Anyways, what was I saying before? Oh yeah, so when I was building this, I always had the stats of how many frames I was using, and I had a certain number that I wanted to keep it to, and I literally had when I was doing it, I had like it was correct because it's when you're viewing it on your computer, it's completely different than viewing in VR. You're rendering less pixels and it's lower resolution, and it's not VR. You don't overhead and stuff that the game has. So it turned out pretty well. Some of the animations are less optimized than other ones. And so when I built it, I'm like, okay. And then when I got I got about 8 songs in, I figured, just for shits and gigs, let's make a quest and see what happens. And I changed the build, build over to Android, and uploaded it. Bam, ready to go. Viewed it in on my Quest standalone, and surprisingly, it looked very different. But the performance was way better than I thought. Like, I think it was 6 out of the 10 animations here were I was max FPS the entire time.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so some of the even some of them have like I hear that like Quest standalone doesn't do transparency very well when things start stacking on top of each other. But like everything's got transparency in it. Every particle has transparency in it. Most of them do it well. So like this one's got like this animation has this Kazo one has it probably has like 90,000 going at once. And that one was the worst performing one. but it hit like lowest I went on my own was 5 FPS. So everything was way above that. So
Well, of
yeah.
all the
If you,
animations,
I'm just gonna
okay,
let me reconnect my Wi-Fi.
okay. Well, I'll stop the video, and then we could reconnect. Give us a second. We're fixing some issues, technical difficulties. Hello, we are
Yeah, I
back.
also had to reduce the bitrate. I don't know. Must be all those Quest updates. I even when I restarted my Quest, I came back and the cursor is different. The one where it shows your pointer, it's like now it's a circle. Didn't
Oh.
used to be that.
Ah. Updating works always happen when you keep your shit on the controlling factor of... I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay.
It's all good. What were we talking about prior?
Oh. We're talking about
Optimization.
optimization, I believe.
Yes, optimization.
Yeah. So yeah. So another thing about optimization is my photo gallery world. I add each gallery's got about 30 photos in it. So each one of them is I set the limit to 2K because a lot of them are 1080p. So that's pretty much a good medium for all of them. Some of the photos I get are 4K, but reduces them down. And so I wasn't too sure how I was going to work the Quest because I figured, okay, each photo takes up a certain amount of space, download space, and I was trying to do a bit of calculations and keeping my world, the world itself, besides the photos, fairly simple, not to use too many new assets. And as I was building it, I had one gallery, and it would put me up to a certain point, and then add another gallery, put me up to another point, and then I'm like, oh no, this is not so good. And then I started adding light mapping to it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like already at 2 galleries, and I'm already at 70 megabytes. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna fit within the 100 megabyte limit. I'm like, oh, it's not good. This is not great. And so, I got really close to doing Quest, a Quest compatibility for when I debuted it for the first 2 galleries. Another little issue, sideline that. But then a few weeks ago, because I wanted to do some calculations and figure out whether it was even worth it to even try. So I basically turned all my textures into solid colors, and it made the world look like crap. Absolute just crap. Got rid of my light map. I got it down to about 30 megabytes for the 2 galleries, which is like, oh yeah, that's great. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. And then I came back to it last week. Asked a bit more info around it in the Discord server I was in, and I was able to reduce it down to almost the same amount with another gallery added. Not the same amount. I'm up to 44 megabytes right now.
Okay.
And the world's half completed, so that's perfect. But now that I know a little bit better, it looks almost exactly the same as the PC one. Versus having everything flat colors and I mean, I reduced all images down to 1K, but you can't tell the difference. It's pretty hard. So
Well, with the VR screen door effect with most modern headsets, a lot of people won't tell the difference between 1080 and 4K unless their computer can handle the 4K setting to their VR headsets, which, unless you got a lot of money, isn't very likely.
yeah. I mean, I don't make the pictures very big on the world too. They're like this big, and so you have to get really close to be able to see the detail. So it's walking around. I tested it just before I joined on you, and I noticed a few small things, but it looked pretty much almost identical to the PC version, which is definitely the goal, right? When you build a world, right? You want as much what's the word I'm looking for? Is it parity between the two worlds?
Similarity?
You want them to look the similarity. You want the experience to be the same, whether someone has Quest standalone or PC. I mean, obviously there's certain things you can't do in Quest, but it's that's the goal, right? To not have someone to go out and they've already spent $500 on a Quest. They don't want to you don't have to tell them, oh, go spend $2,000 on a PC that can handle PC VR. So
well,
that's the where we're talking about adoption for Quest. Like Quest
yeah.
has definitely helped a big part of the VR adoption. Is like, and then if you can give those Quest users a good experience on VR, they're more likely gonna stick around
Oh yeah,
and
especially
help that adoption.
since VRchat's like a super majority Quest users. Us PC users may laugh and poke fun at the Questies, but we're technically the VRchat minority. Most people in VRchat are Quest users. Sorry, PC VR guys, but you're the minority in VR.
I find that a lot of people eventually do go to PC. Like the Quest
yeah.
is a stepping stone to the real thing, right? People go on a Quest and they see this, and then they oh, this is great, and then they see what their friends are doing, but they can't do because they're on a Quest. So they either already have a gaming computer and didn't realize that they could hook it up, or they don't have a gaming computer and ask for advice, and they go out and spend the money, and then they can have a much better experience in VR, more immersive and more like it's supposed to be reality.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that is the
More
typical
realistic.
VR user journey. A Quest, one would say, is you see all the fun people are having. Sorry for the pun, but I'm also not sorry. But you are right. A lot of people go for the more expensive things over time. Like if I had a nickel for every time I was helping a former Questie hook up full body to their computer, I would be quite rich. It's very common. Like you'll see, like either start on your
probably
desk.
have a few dollars.
I'd have more than a few dollars. It happens frequently. Someone starts off on a desktop or a Quest, then they see the full body and the VR users, and they see the dancing and the clubbing and the music and the pudding pop, and they want to be a part of it. And so they force their Quest with what you do with the virtual desktop, or they all out spend money on an index or something. And then they eventually end up with full body in one way, form, or the other. I've seen people use everything from Wii nunchucks and a camera straight up to building their own full body trackers with slime or other stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, surprisingly, the full body nunchucks
the ancients building 3D printing, like yeah. We have some of the ancients 3D printing their own eye tracking, and it's like, and then getting their own circuitry and everything, and getting all into the real nitty gritty. Someone even built that haptic glove that you're talking about. They're 3D printing it. That one person who built their own 3D glove, and they released the prints for them, and then someone in their server had done it themselves, and it was like, oh, that's like super cool. It's like getting really into it. Like,
I wonder.
Some people have more time than money, so they can go that route.
I wonder if we're kind of living in a historical moment of VR, where we're in the equivalent to the golden age of the internet. You know, back when you and I were kids and 4chan was a thing, and people would send each other really screwed up videos for a laugh. Back on that crazy age of the internet, we're in that for VR.
Probably, yeah. I mean, so it's like Dancing Baby and and Flash games and.
Well, we had Mr. Hands and other crazy stuff, and now we get ERPers in public lobbies doing worse things. In real life, worse things. Just in a drinking night or a black cat.
Yeah, but I still can't sell goddamn tickets to make a buck. But it takes me up on it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. Must be
Why would they give you money to watch something they can watch in a public lobby for free?
I don't know. Sounds good to sell it at the door. Don't you know? It's just funny and see if I can do it. You never know what people do. People buy weirder shit.
Well, even with this,
Yeah, I think
I'm
definitely
sorry.
I definitely feel like we're in the, like you said, in the golden age where people like, I mean, you go around VRChat, most people are doing stuff for free, right? Nobody's doing. Some people do it for money, make avatars and stuff for money, but majority of people are doing stuff for free. And here, people will have no problem spending a few hours with you, helping you build an avatar, or
Mm,
even all the assets are out there. So many free assets, you don't even have to spend a nickel.
mm.
Like I haven't spent. I've only probably bought one avatar in my entire time living here, and I barely
Mm,
use that one. So it's and then I have my own Gumroad, which has a few free assets on it, but they're ancients related. But it's I mean, this avatar is on the on my Gumroad, and like this
mm.
one, uh, um, you can even get for free because it's on the default page now.
Really? So the Ancients mascot is right on on the default page.
Yep, yep. As soon as I saw that avatar gem, I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, at first I didn't want to do it because I was right in the middle of a project, and I'm like, I can probably complete this project, but then I'll have 1 week to do it. And I'm like, no, I didn't want to do it. And then then they extended the deadline. I'm like, and then I jumped full force into it, and took me about a week and a half to finish. So it's
Well, of all the things, at least Ancients of VRChat is now has their mascot as a fallback, so it'll be an iconic eventually avatar.
yep,
Hopefully,
yep.
it'll be a
We'll see.
lot less infamous like the brushes and a lot more loved.
Pumpkins. Yes, yes.
The
Yeah, we don't want
brushes.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
you know what's funny? It's funny. Like for the first when I first got my avatar in that list, I get friend requests every single day from people who are like visitors
Hmm.
and quest users, and it was even weirder. It took me a while for the first friend request that was using my avatar, and I'm
Oh.
like, oh, that's it. That was like, oh, it was like it was pretty special. That was
Hmm.
like this is someone joining VR chat and then using something that I created right away.
Hmm.
So
I'm sure that
being able
is.
to relate to it enough or liking it enough that they chose for that be their avatar. I'm sure they'll eventually move on, but that's those avatars are stepping stones basically
Hmm.
for something they really like.
They'll start off with your avatar and then make the hard decision: are they gonna go e-boy, e-girl, or furry?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's funny. This is my first furry avatar. I'm not a furry whatsoever, but it's just like my first avatar was
Wouldn't it be a
more of
scaly?
more of
Technically,
an
yeah.
anime scaly, I guess so. But technically, but it's
I'm
every
just,
anthropomorphic animal is furry, but
Yeah.
into that
yeah,
category.
pretty much.
I
Um,
yeah.
my first avatar is humanoid. It was a human avatar, is a more anime styling.
Mm,
Just because I copied the tutorial. So
mm. My very first regular avatar was one of Anonymous's avatars, a little tiny black and white e-boy that was probably a midget avatar. You know the Nani's avatars, Anonymous something or other.
um, oh no. I thought I thought I knew what you were talking about, but I don't.
Mm,
I have one of my favorites that looks exact. That's small and it's got a
mm.
little
Yeah,
white sweater and black pants.
yeah. It was
But
the
my very first one is the E-boy too.
e well for the longest time, like even the little tiny e-boy may have been my first, but I spent the first year world hopping looking for avatars, and what eventually led
Mm.
me to the furry avatars was I come across Scottish Ripper's avatars, and I ended up in one of his
Okay, yeah,
models, Foxy I think it was called, and I liked it.
yeah, yeah.
wasn't no, wasn't a furry at the time. It was just kind of it happens like, oh hey, this looks
Mm-hmm.
cool. I, I'm a very simple person. It's like, I like it. It looks good. And then I use it. I'm the same person you don't leave
Yep,
alone in
yep.
the holiday section of Walmart. I'll just start connecting all the dancing toys and pushing buttons. It does not take me very long.
Yep.
So when I eventually led into this, and now here I am in an anthropomorphic fox thing. Every person's gonna
Yeah,
go
I mean,
that road eventually.
I was going around in the default avatars for this little bit until I went in the VRchat Discord and I said, oh, can someone want to show me around or something, and then someone said they'd help me around, and they showed me an avatar world or two, and they're e-boy ones, so I
Hmm.
picked one, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of what I want, but not really, and then I kind of I knew I could make my own at that point, so I
Hmm.
just looked into it and kind of picked out what I wanted. I liked this kind of styling. I kind of like the anime styling more than I do like the more realistic styling, but it's definitely um easier to do the realistic styling than I find than to do the anime styling, because it's as a 2D artist, I'm not very good. I'm terrible. Like, before doing any of this avatar work, I would say that I haven't done anything artistic since I was in high school.
Oh.
That's Yeah. So for me to jump really into this is kind of a little bit different, and not usually what I would do.
Hmm. Well, like this, like a story of many people. You come into VR expecting one thing and leave with another. With that said, you're now an avatar maker. You're an artist. VRChat helped you
Yep.
find it. Crazy enough.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. So
Hmm.
it's I've always been kind of good with doing that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm pretty good at visualizing things. So it's
Hmm.
it's helpful in that sense. Like, doing Blender comes pretty naturally to me, and uh, so that's kind of what I've been mainly concentrating on and doing that. And then Unity's been a pain. I haven't done it. I've been avoiding coding like the plague. So I've been trying to. That's that's my big wall when it comes to world development is Udon Sharp, and even just Udon, right?
Yep.
Just learning that even if it's like they make it as easy as possible with like all the nodes and everything, but um it's just a little bit harder for me to wrap my brain around it.
Hmm.
So
Like someone who only knows English trying to decipher Japanese.
pretty much, the language, right? I was terrible at doing languages when I was in high school, so
Mm.
it's not a.
Well,
Mhm.
at least there's a lot of people here in VR chat who would help you learn it. I've
Yeah, definitely.
I've even met a few people who taught themselves how to make stuff in VR chat, just jumped right into the code first. Don't know why, but they did. It's like, cool code, let's do that first, and then everyone has their own things they're
Well,
good
yeah,
at,
people
not good at.
a lot, yeah, you can tell a lot. There's a lot of people in VR chat with an IT background, right?
Mm.
Whether they're into software development or other things, right? They already have a bit of a background in that kind of uh, doing things that way. So, but
Mm.
for me, it's like last time I touched any kind of coding was HTML in high school. So it's I mainly get it, but it's like it's hard for it to stick in my brain. Is
Mm.
Even with Blender, I forget things. I'll forget things in a few weeks.
Mm. I
So
can understand that. I'm a
it's one of those
similar way.
things where you just gotta sit down and force yourself to do it. Like, my first avatar took me 2 months because I forced myself to do it, to complete it,
Mm.
and it was well worth it.
Mm. Well, to be fair, when teaching yourself a skill, a lot of the time it's always worth it in the end, especially when you spend all that time painstakingly learning, and then when you're done, you get to stop, step back, and then look at the finished product and go, I did that. Even if it's not the best
Hmm.
looking thing, you can
Yeah.
still say, I did that, which is one of the beauties of building anything, whether
Yep.
it's artistic or you work with houses and stuff. Whatever that skill might be, it's one of the added benefits is the finished product.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in real life, I'm an electrician, so doing that visualization definitely helps, and it's probably a skill that I picked up for my job over the years. So it's being able to plan things out before you start doing them is probably where that comes out in Blender a little bit. So.
It does make a lot of sense, especially as I'm sure a lot of construction programs for development of blueprints is similar to like Blender in a sense. I'm not entirely sure about that side of things because I've never touched it, but I would assume it's similar.
Neither have I. I'm not a blueprint person, but a lot of times when you see a blueprint and it's just a blueprint, right? It's just 2D, so you have to actually be able to visualize it in 3D. I see a lot of people who struggle with Blender saying that, oh, I just can't, I just don't know how to move things around, and I don't know how to visualize it, right? And it's hard for them to break that barrier of how they think.
I think it probably comes down to those who can move objects in 3D in their mind and those who can't. Similar to those who could like have that inner monologue of their own voice, and those who just kind of don't. Probably those who can like yourself, who can like grab an object, spin the apple in 3D in their head, and picture every little facet of it, and then those who like apple.
Yeah, I've never understood that inner monologue thing. I don't know. I just don't imagine what it would be like to not have I don't know if it's just thoughts or like have an inner voice.
Do you not have an inner voice?
Well, yeah, but I can't imagine, like, I just can't. It's hard for me to picture what it'd be like without, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Like,
I have that
it's
inner
just
monologue too. And just it being dead quiet in there, it's just kind of terrifying.
exactly like my brain's always going. It's like you can imagine what it would do if it stopped.
Am I okay? Is this what normal people feel like? I don't like it anymore. I tried normal for 5 minutes and hated it. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny fact, I actually saw that on a t-shirt once when I was in high school, and I compulsively bought it with the money I had spare in my pocket. It made me laugh. I couldn't help myself. Just sure I tried normal for 5 minutes and hated it. I just some stick figure guy in a pose of sorts.
Yeah.
Typical Walmart t-shirt shit.
I know that kind of thing. Oh yeah, like Spencer's gifts and stuff like that. Those kind of t-shirts.
Oh Lord. What you thinking about, Raptor?
Nothing. Brain cells fighting to get back in.
Good to know.
Oh.
Well,
good to know.
With that said, is there anything you'd like to plug? Social media, websites, booth.
To be honest, I don't have any social media accounts. I haven't used my Facebook in 12 years. I finally relented and finally figured out how to log into my Twitter last week. But just so I can view it, because it's just a pain these days to view something when you don't have an account. If I wanted to plug anything, I don't know. If you're watching this and you're over 18 and you're looking for a nice community to join the Ancients of Vrchat. I don't know what else. I have a Gumroad, but there's just a few free assets on there. Dangleberry Gumroad. Pretty much Google that. That's about it.
Well, if you have the link to your Gumroad, send it to me and I'll put everything in the Hoobly What's It right down there. If you move your cursor a little bit south and you'll see description, click that. There's some fun things down there.
Yeah.
Go down and check it out. Will exist. YouTube will get rid of it eventually. Links are no longer a thing. Nah, it's fine. I think it's still a thing. I'm just over exaggerating to be an ass.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for them to bring annotations back.
They're never coming back.
No, I know. They were graded at one point.
Mm.
But
Goodbye.
can't edit a video later anymore.
No. Bye, everybody. Enjoy the
Bye.
rest of your day.
And if you're looking for something to do, put the cell back in, because he needed it as much as anybody else in this. Have a good one, folks. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.